Hey y'all, this is Moni.
And this is Kat.
AKA. And this is the Fake Ass Book Club. Wait, can we both say it or no?
Welcome back, you guys. It's your girl, Moni.
And this is Kat.
Welcome back to the Fake Ass Book Club, you guys. We made it, friends.
We did.
We did it.
We're so breezy today, too.
We are.
We're not even faking it. We're usually fake as hell about like, this. No, like seriously.
Today, for real.
Fabulous.
Feeling great. It's a beautiful day. It was a beautiful day. It still is. We were mentioning that it really felt like summertime. I know it's not officially summer, but I'm in the summer mood, man. And it just, all the vitamin D is really got me up.
Yeah.
What about you, friend?
Gotta love that vitamin D.
Gotta love the vitamin D. Gotta have it.
It is something about not being perpetually cold that is like releasing a ton of serotonin. I feel great about everything.
Anything. Whatever. Don't matter. I feel great about it all. Just
everything. I mean, everything's kind of awesome.
It is. It's great.
So, including today's show.
Yes, and including you guys for joining us once again. So thank you for coming back for another fun episode. So let's talk a little bit about why we're here today. We are going to be talking about Jerrod Carmichael's reality show. And it was a reluctant endeavor on my end. Kat had to convince me because the clip that I saw from the first episode had me like, I don't feel like I should be looking at this. Okay, I'm embarrassed for him.
Which clip did you see?
Episode 1, man, it was Tyler, the creator, which we're going to get into that. But
got you. That was very
I was
cringy.
like, oh my God, my underarms are sweating now because
just thinking
about it. So with that being said, you guys, we're going to get into it. So let me give you a brief little synopsis about the docuseries. So Jerrod Carmichael reality show is an American docuseries directed by Ari Katcher. It follows the comedian as he interacts with family, friends, and strangers in his quest for love, sex, and connection. The show offers a candid look into the comedian's life, blending humor with profound moments of introspection. The show delves into Jerrod's daily experiences, creative process, and personal interactions, providing a multi-dimensional view of his world. It uniquely addresses themes such as Black masculinity, mental health, and generational trauma, presenting an original exploration of these topics through Jerrod's perspective. Does it ever?
I think that was very well put.
Man.
Yeah, because it's all that and more.
And more, guys. Yeah. So, before we get into the show, let's just dedicate the episode really quickly here, guys. So hands over your hearts. As always, patrons, you guys have no idea the love we feel, okay? For your continued support. We do not take it for granted. Thank you so much. Also, I just want to dedicate this to the summertime. It just feels so good, especially when you live in the Midwest and you have like 90 days to get all your shit off. It's like, you know what? We got 90 days, yo. Family vacation,
Let's go.
Friends, rooftop bars, like
barbecue.
What are we doing? Listen, we got to do it all. And so I'm just really grateful for the warm weather and being able to get outside, my kids being out of school, and just really enjoying this time of year. So thank you, summer. What about you, friend?
Yes, and all of that. My dedication is going out to my dad because tomorrow's Father's Day. And I am because he was that nigga. Like, I mean, just, what a guy. I love him so much. He wasn't perfect, but none of this is gone without saying who was perfect. You know what I mean? Like, but I really appreciate everything that he gave me, pour into me, all of that good stuff. And for all the other fathers out there who are doing that day-to-day, boring, not celebrated work, Fab sees you. And we appreciate that because you're making the world a better place. Because if you don't do that work, world gets worse.
It does. It truly does.
It truly, thank you for agreeing with that. So dedication over.
What a fabulous dedication.
Thank you.
Mean that too, because I do think that kind of helps us segue into the show in a really natural way, because this show, the Jerrod Carmichael reality show, has a lot to do with, relating to your parents and, just how contentious and
it's complicated.
It can be complicated.
I feel like
very much so.
I feel like I distilled it pretty well when I communicated with my kids and apologized to them, like just preemptively. Like, I'm sorry
Before we get started here.
Oh, like before we even get started. I'm sorry for 2004. This is my sorry for your entire childhood because I'm going to mess up. I'm raising you to be better than me. Yeah. So you're going to see things that I don't see because you have an advantage over me. Please don't judge me for it. Like, I kind of got that as I started having kids where it was like, okay, I can point at my parents was like, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. But it's like, how could they have? They didn't have the tools that they gave me. So, there's that sort of, but then there's still that contention of, was that still your best though? Because like with his dad.
Wait, let's get into it. So let's start.
Okay.
Listen, this is such a juicy episode. I feel like let's start with a little bit about Jerrod. For those of you who may not know.
Well, Rothaniel Jerrod Carmichael was born in April. Let's start over. Rothaniel Jerrod Carmichael is a 37-year-old American comedian, actor, writer, and filmmaker. He's released 3 stand-up comedy specials on HBO, and he co-wrote and produced and created the semi-autobiographical NBC sitcom The Carmichael Show. And he also did these really interesting sort of interviews with his family on HBO called Home Videos and Sermon on the Mount, which I think are a really good companion piece to the Jerrod Carmichael reality show that I would recommend for everybody. So yeah, that's a little bit about our guy Jerrod. He's a funny guy. He's like, he does really depressing humor.
Very much so. And it's funny because I never really have followed him. I think we talked about that on the Rothaniel episode where we reviewed that comedy, his stand-up. And it was kind of like,
his Emmy award-winning stand-up.
Like, put some respect on it. It was, it was renowned, but like, it was so non-traditional in the sense of the style of it and the tone.
It was a real small environment.
It was, and it was very
intimate,
deeply personal.
Uncomfortably
he came out on that special, and a lot of people were asking like, "Is this comedy though? Like, is this And it puts me in the mind of that for this. Like, I don't know if this is to be considered, because he is considered a comedian and this is his life, I know he thinks it's funny. I've heard him say so much, but like, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on whether or not this reads as is this part of the comedy? Is it supposed to be kind of funny? My question to him is like, how do you want people to take, like, what is the point? I
wouldn't classify this reality show as a comedy. Okay. I would classify it as just a reality show.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's a reality show about a comedy writer.
Right. Okay. All right. That's fair. So with that being said, this show was broken down into 8 different episodes, and I kind of wanted to briefly talk about each one just so that we're kind of going in order with you guys. So episode 1, so this is sort of, in his mind, like an experiment in honesty. And he kind of starts off by saying, like, I need these cameras because I feel like I can be more transparent. For whatever reason, the cameras help him feel like he can be the most honest version of himself. So as this sort of experiment begins, he confronts his crush. He avoids his mom, and he's scrambling to find a date to the Emmy. So let's jump into episode 1. This was the episode that made me feel like, I don't think I can watch this.
So it was the Tyler, the Creator stuff?
Tyler, the Creator.
Okay.
Because that's his best friend. He kind of confronts him. Like, he's being nominated for the Emmy. So, like, this whole series takes place over a huge swath of time. Like,
yeah, it's kind of confusing a little bit.
It can be.
He broke it down because he did a really good interview on Trevor Noah's show.
Okay.
And he was saying how he won the Emmy in like September, and then maybe December of that year he started dating his boyfriend.
Okay. Right. And which is crazy because the first episode is that, but the second episode is him introducing us to his boyfriend. So there's months in between.
His Vanilla King.
So we can get into episode 2, but episode 1, the thing that made me so uncomfortable about this was, I guess, just the vulnerability that he showed when he was telling his best friend, because I've literally never been in a situation where I've personally been in love with my best friend. Like, I have had a crush on somebody who I liked.
Sure.
Who was my friend. Like, of course I'm going back to junior high or whatever, but and he didn't like me, so we just had to be friends.
I question whether or not he was really in love with Tyler.
In love or in lust?
My whole thing is, because I'm with Tyler a little bit on this one, where he was like, I don't want to approach this really with these cameras around. Like, because a part of me, especially since Tyler, the creator, is a celebrity, are you using this in a way to stimulate, eyeballs? Because I'm a famous person, you're a famous person.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me this in this very public format, which is, it's like when someone
As
proposes.
best friends,
Like it's like when
that.
someone proposes in public or something
Yeah.
like that. It's like, this isn't romantic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know you might feel like this is like romantic, but being put on the spot in that way about something that's so intimate, I in that moment just really felt uncomfortable for Tyler, because it's like, how are you supposed to really navigate? Because I put myself in his shoes. Like, if I had a really close friend tell me on TV that they're in love with me, and it's like, okay, but like, if you were in love with me, why wouldn't you like care about how I felt about being put in this situation?
Mm-hmm. So you think that was for the views and the clicks?
Not consciously, but I think it was very counter, like, productive if your goal was to have a romantic relationship with this person.
Interesting. So that part, I was just like, I don't know, but I just felt like this is a terrible way to tell your best friend you're in
But
love
I
with
think
them.
in his mind he was sincere. Like, I don't think he was intentionally doing it to generate drama or anything like that. I think in his mind there really was this conflict there. At the same time, too, you're still banging. Like I said, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but like, you're still having sex with a lot of different people.
Well, you're jumping ahead. We haven't gotten
Sorry.
there. We haven't gotten there, friend.
Okay.
Well, so my thing was, I agree with that, and I feel like you could, like, what you just said was important for a lot of how I felt about the entire documentary, just at large. It's a little different with his parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are conversations that he was wanting to have, saying maybe. So we can argue that, but I personally love Tyler's reaction to that. Do you remember what he told him?
You stupid bitch.
Yeah. And like laughed it off, because I probably, not that I would have called him a stupid bitch, but I would have had to laugh it off. Like, it would have been like, I'm not gonna even take this seriously in this format. We're not doing that.
Right.
Because I'm not about to like cuss you out and be like, nigga, how you gonna bring me on camera? Like, since we're on camera, because that's gonna activate the part of me that like, okay, this is supposedly real. Mm-hmm. Okay, so my real reaction is why would you do that?
Right. Put
You
me
know
on
what
Front
I'm saying?
Street.
Yeah, like this is not for that. So
yeah, because it is something like, love is something that's so intimate. And like I said, you are in a vulnerable position when and honestly, when I was originally watching it, I didn't know if Tyler, the creator, was gay or straight.
no one knows. It's a whole ass mystery.
Okay.
He has not come out, and that's the other part too. He hasn't come out publicly to say he's gay. I think if anything, that might have been one of the big, also a big thing, because it's like he hasn't said either way whether he was or was not. So now you're coming out here saying that to me. I think it's implied, because he did say that him and Jaden that's my boyfriend, but then it was like, is he trolling us? Is he like, it's always that with him. Like, nobody ever really knows. He's not really
and we don't have to.
Period. Because not everybody wants every part of their whole life.
Yeah.
So
I don't need to necessarily know that. So
then, like, let's talk about the guy though. Like, wasn't in this episode the guy who had on his friend who didn't want to be
anonymous,
his anonymous friend, who I think is supposed to be somebody. I guess everybody actually knows who this person is.
Right. Because Trevor Noah knows who he is.
A co-collaborator. I think I Googled it.
But he was very critical. He was like,
very
why are you doing this? This is masturbatory.
Like,
this is
But then also too, why are you on here in a mask? Because you look silly.
Well, like I said, he's like, I don't want to be associated with this.
But here you are, and
like
people still know who you are.
Well, I still want to give my critique. You know what I mean? Like,
I can give that to you back here. You're not gonna catch me on phone.
That's true.
Or it could have just been the audio. It could have just been the little voice waves
with
the distortion. He didn't have to show up in a whole ass clown suit. I'm just, there's levels to it.
It was an interesting choice, but also maybe you just want to be on your P's and Q's, so like you don't want anybody on the set to know.
I'm just saying, nothing with me would have been in front of no motherfucking set. That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But like, if Jerrod is like, well, I'm doing everything, like,
okay,
we're
well,
doing
I'll
the
holler at
thing.
you. I'm how would you
the experience, whatever.
Yeah, because on one hand, I feel like as a friend, if I'm telling you how ridiculous this is, like I can leave you a voice note and just say that. And like, look, I don't know how long you're doing this, and I'm not
or
gonna
maybe
stop
he
you.
was
but
like,
I'm
or
not gonna
maybe
be in
he
it.
only wanted to show it to him in that controlled environment. Like he's like, I can't send you like a video file of this. You have to come in and watch it.
I understand what you're saying,
But like, that part didn't bother me as much as just, to me, the Tyler, the Creator stuff probably bothered me more than, because it's so funny because as the show goes on, I've forgotten about the Tyler, the Creator stuff because so much stuff happens.
Yeah, it's so much stuff.
Yeah,
So
but
much
like
stuff.
with that part, it just seemed, I mean, of course, like he's coming from a realistic place, but I mean, I don't know how in love he really was because, I mean, spoilers for ongoing episodes, he seems to be very self-centered.
Let's go to episode 2.
Okay.
Let's just move it on down. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So the second episode is Mike. And so Jerrod is falling in love with his new boyfriend, and he learns that he may have a problem with fidelity, which is kind of what you're touching on. So it sounds like his boyfriend, Mike, who seems lovely, by the way. He seems so
He
nice.
looks like an upstanding white man.
I know. I'm like, he seems like a good guy. And
He's
he
a
seems
reader.
Like he really loves. He is a reader. Seemed like he really is invested in his relationship. He's getting his, I think, master's. I forget in what, at the University of Iowa.
And then on the creative writing.
And on the weekends, he's visiting, Jerrod, and I feel like all of the leeway that he's given this man, And what's interesting is you go from having him in the first episode talking about this is like a honesty experiment, like I want to be super honest in front of the cameras, and then cut to as soon as his boyfriend leaves,
Getting on
he's
Grindr.
on Grindr, grinding, okay, going in, okay?
Horde.
All right,
Sucking toes.
and everything, which was like it was like
I didn't need to see that.
a lot of this was like I didn't need.
And I get it.
didn't-
Like I said, you're trying to put it all out there. Like, hey, this is how it goes down. But it's like, I didn't like it.
It was just like I shouldn't be here for this.
Yeah, that was kind of a lot. But at the same time, I'm just like, all right, let's just see where it goes.
This is what it is.
We're here now.
So yeah, he's showing his dates from Grindr, pulling up at his house. And I guess he got their consent to use their images, put them in the show. He said a lot of them they chatted and they knew that they were going to be on the show. So some of them I'm sure had their own ideas about why they wanted to participate. But it just was very much like, I mean, whatever. I feel like any dating experience put on camera could be looked at as gross and a little bit like, okay, I didn't need to see all of that.
Dating
You know what I'm
is
saying?
so very often a disaster.
Yeah, so it was just
But that I wouldn't even have called that dating.
right hunching. It was serial hunching.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna call it. It was like
I think that's a more accurate
Cinnamon
term for what we saw.
toast hunch. That's what it was. You guys feel free to use that.
Except there wasn't a ton of cinnamon. It was just mostly
There's
just plain
hunch.
white bread.
It was one, yeah.
Because he seemed to have a type.
He did. He was really in. He was listening. I'm not even. You're into who you're into or whatever.
But it was interesting, like you were
it
in
was
love
very
with
interesting.
Tyler. But I mean, that's not to say you can only love one type of person
But
either.
maybe
But it
that's
just
different though. Like being in love with somebody versus who you'll hunch on
or
sometimes can be
maybe
different.
he was just confusing. Maybe that's just his OSO.
It could be.
You know what I mean?
Oh, and he was trying to assign this weird sexual
Yeah,
thing to
like
it
we
when it's
always we're like
like,
we
but
always
you
want to put,
did me.
but it's like we have this thing, so this means we must
We
be
have to
boinking,
hunch.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like no.
We should send him that book.
Well, because another thing that Trevor Noah tapped in, he's like, you've done all this therapy. Has anyone ever tested you for ADHD?
Ooh.
And he was like, no. He's like, that's interesting.
And what was his hypothesis on why he thought maybe he was ADHD?
Because he can't do anything unless he just wants to do it. Like it's very hard for people with ADHD to like,
Really?
hone in on a task that they don't want to do. Oh no!
I have it.
Because I mean, we're skipping ahead, but when his friend was getting married and he just couldn't bring himself to do any of the shit.
Oh my God! Please, you are skipping ahead because
Sorry. All right, I'll go back. Episode 2.
But episode 2. So you just see him hunching on all these guys
Serial
or
hunching.
whatever. And,
I like that term.
Yeah, serial hunching, and it just makes you kind of feel like, okay, what are you looking for, or is this just the result of like a really massive sex drive? Like that's my question to you. Like,
That was
do you just
suppressed
want to
for
be
a long time. One of the things that I
Yeah.
really to me was interesting for him to say was like, I just came out, so really like sexually, I'm like 16 years old. You know what I mean? Like just in his sexual journey, he's still pretty immature in the space, which I can relate to in a way. I was kind of a late bloomer. So you're kind of, you know, in this new space and trying to navigate it. And like I said, he still took a lot of his heteronormative behavior into this new space.
Yeah, he did.
So maybe there was this idea of like, well, maybe I should have a black partner and a bunch of like just sort of white bang boys.
Maybe. I'd be interested to hear him talk about, you know, because I mean, you know, we do all have our types, and it's like, where do you think that comes from? You know, like when you're intentionally picking somebody. Because I do remember thinking to myself as a younger person, like, you know, my dad in my mind is a pretty boy. Like he's a beautiful man.
I was just listening to Pretty Boy Swag yesterday.
Were you?
Yeah.
He's got pretty boy swag. You know what I'm saying?
Here is my swag.
Swagged out suits, you know, like
Get
that's
out
just his
the
thing.
way. Mel's coming through.
He's coming through. You have to get out the way. And so for me, I was always like, I don't know if I want that because
I want to be the pretty one.
I kind of like, I don't want to like fight you for bathroom time and stuff like that. That seems wild to me.
That's how I've always
And
felt.
then I married a bear, a wilderness man. I married a
You
wilderness
married a
man.
wildebeest.
A wilderness man who like just
He would
He's a
wear
manly
like,
man.
what are the little lumberjack shirts? Are those like the little plaid
flannel
shirts and
shirt?
stuff? Flannel
He
jackets.
wouldn't wear that.
He wouldn't wear that?
No.
Okay.
But he, you know, like the boots and the pickup truck, like he's a man's man. So
It's not Pretty Ricky.
it's not Pretty Ricky. And
doing
I
Pretty
feel
Ricky
like in my
things.
mind, because, you know, like at a certain point I was like, I don't know. Not like I was trying to avoid completely men like my dad. Kind of was though. In a lot of ways I was. And that's not to say everything about him was bad, but I do think that our parents inform the way we look for partners and like what we're looking for.
Big time. Yeah. But what's interesting, because this is June and it's Pride Month.
It is.
And Jerrod's very gay. But it's also June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, which I think ties well into this as well, because he does seem to be doing the work. I'll give him that
He's
much.
trying. I think he's doing his best. It's a little messy and all over the place.
It's very messy.
But
I think for him, he's like, it's already been messy though. I'm just talking about it.
Yeah. And I'm just showing y'all this is what it looks like. So,
Right.
Or this is the part of it
like,
that I'm
it sounds
showing
like
you.
he's trying to tear down the Front Fest. And it's messy, because how do you tear stuff down without making a mess?
You can't. Well, speaking of a mess, let's talk about episode 3, friendship.
Okay.
This is when his childhood best friend Jessica moves to New York, trying to make it, and then Jerrod struggles.
Make it as an actress.
Jerrod struggles to make up for years of being a terrible friend. So we touch on Jessica. We touch on his other friend, who I forget his name.
Was it Mike?
Mike. It was Mike.
Yeah. Because it was a real solid name. I remember he
Mike.
just seemed like a solid Mike.
He had some good friends.
He
I feel
did.
like he really did have some people who really saw him and loved him.
Yeah.
And it was really hard for me to see him not showing up for his friends. You know what I mean?
I was really mad watching that.
I mean, honestly, he was a villain for like the first 3-4 episodes for me. You know, like if
he
you're
was
not, I wasn't
so
rooting for
vain.
him
He was
at all.
such a bitchy gay dude.
It was disgusting.
It was
I'm
just like,
Jerrod.
I mean, you're bare chested in a fur coat. Like, you're freaking Ken right now.
Thank you.
It's like you're at your Mojo Dojo Casa,
He was.
whatever. And so he might as well have just been
God.
Cruella DeVille.
Seriously. And he would have loved that, I think. He would have
A little
probably
bit, where he was just like, and what?
don't
Like,
give a
I'm still
fuck.
rich, I'm still black, I'm still fine, I'm still
Okay,
gay.
and I'm about to be hunching all the crunchings. Okay, it's happening. The friendship episode was hard for me to see.
For one, I thought it was super funny when he finally put her out, and she was super happy about it. But he was like, I don't know, tell her I only got that apartment for a month.
That was kind of like.
But it was
Talk
kind
to
of
her
like,
about it.
But and everyone should be free to talk, because she didn't talk about I want to move in. She was just like,
She
I'm
was just
coming
there.
to visit, and then it was
And
just
she's
like
just there.
he was
Yeah.
like, oh, you just got a bunch of shit.
Yeah, and your bras are just here, and you're messy, and I don't like it.
Yeah, and he's used to having things.
His
I mean,
own
once
space.
again,
He pays.
I
bills?
commiserated with him in that moment, where it was
Sure,
just
sure,
like,
sure.
you didn't agree to share your space,
Yeah.
and just because you have made a career doesn't mean you need to make everybody's career.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, because
There's some
I mean, like I said, there was no reality show where we see him like making it. Like,
Yeah.
he's already made
He's
it by the
there.
time this reality show starts. So we didn't get to see the grind and the struggle.
Oh my gosh. What about so what did you think about his friends' acting and abilities?
it seemed burgeoning.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
it was the beginning stages.
I think she had maybe unrealistic expectations about what making it as an actor looks like. Because you probably should have tried to make it on the local level first. Like, can you do local theater?
Yeah.
Like, because it is harder than it looks.
It's
like,
super hard. Shout out to all the thespians out there. Shout out, because it's the work, especially if you love it. It goes under the radar for so long before you actually make it. So,
before you can seriously consider making a living off of it. I felt like that acting coach might have been kind of a scam. Like, it was just a way to maybe make some money off of people who want to be actors. That's just how I felt.
Or you've been doing it longer, so you can just now charge for it. It's the same as anybody that's been doing something for a little while. It's like, okay, so now.
I mean, doctors don't do that.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, do they? Okay, cool.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, and I agree. I do think that, like, you have to have those hard conversations. I thought, man, that is awkward when you have the friend
like,
who's just here and you're like, yo,
are you
you're like
prepared
on the couch now.
To be broke for the next 10 years while you, on the hopes of maybe making a living in this when we're both in our 50s?
Oh.
Like, or how old are they? Like, they're 40s or 50s? Like I said, because if they're...
Is he in his...
Oh, he's 37. 37. I'm sorry.
50,
but I mean, like I said, like 10 years from now, you'll be 47. So you'll be knocking on 50. You know what I'm saying? So it takes maybe, I mean, let's just say, like, me using all my connections and everything, it could still take years, maybe decades before you're able to sustain yourself with this. So I don't know if he was maybe willing to be, because he seemed like he really did care about her.
He did. He was trying. I think he was doing his best, but it, again,
it was hard to watch. It was cringy.
It was like, oh my gosh. And then his friend too that you mentioned earlier, Mike, was getting married. This is one of his oldest and dearest friends, and he was supposed to be the best man, you guys, and he was late to the wedding.
He missed the wedding.
He missed it. He came at some point. He was taking pictures. He was wearing the wrong color shirt.
Because he didn't want to go to. He didn't want to go to Men's Warehouse. He was too good for that.
He was like, man, they ain't gonna have no Gucci there, bitch. Of course they're not.
This isn't
about
not,
you.
That's exactly.
For one afternoon, for
one day,
a few hours.
And the fact too that by doing this, you're getting his wedding off to a bad start. Because I bet you his wife was like, "Please don't invite Jerrod to this."
Please, because it's drama every single time.
Invite him for sure, because I'm sure he'll send a great gift. Okay. Like, he does seem like he'd be good for that.
But don't put him in the wedding party.
But like, don't put him in the wedding. He's not reliable. That means he probably didn't go to the rehearsal dinner either.
Have him record a little speech that we can play. We'll put it up on the projector.
Something
Everybody
like
will
that.
be like, "Oh, it's Jerrod. He just won an Emmy. Cool." Like, yeah, don't make him the star.
Yeah, don't depend. He's not dependable.
Like, that's so
and I promise you, his wife. I feel like any.
She did.
Because once again, she's not. I don't have any affection for him. I've already clocked him.
Right. I don't have any affection for him.
Right. Like,
this is your love
I don't
friend.
have any tender memories from high school to look back on. Like, I just see this dude as he is, and he shows up when he wants to.
And I'm not for it.
And that's not what my wedding day is about to be about.
Yeah. And she's probably the one going super hard about it. She, it ends up being more of the like, okay.
So it's so now not only does your friend Mike have to forgive you, but you also have to make things. I hope he better have gotten a really good gift. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah. Because that is a huge letdown.
What do you think about his reparations for his actions? Remember
I thought
what he
that
did?
was appropriate.
So tell the people what he did.
Well,
real quick.
he went ahead and went home or not home, but went to Mike's house and did the best man speech that he had written. In a tux, in the correct tux. Mm-hmm. And just to show him, and the friends, Mike seemed to really appreciate it. He was just like, man, okay, come on.
It's like, now get your ass in here and apologize to my wife.
Right. Exactly.
Because I'm going to forgive you, but she's never going to forget.
Ever. Because not only, it's so complicated because it's like, yeah, you ruined a big part of my day, but you also hurt my husband.
Yeah.
Like, that's not an easy thing to forgive.
I can't, it's hard for me to like you.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like my husband deserves a better friend than you.
Yeah, he does. And so, but I did like that he tried to do something. So hopefully.
He acknowledged it.
Yes.
Like, he didn't just act like, man, I did this for you. One time I didn't, I'm sorry.
How hypocritical would that have been, though, in the context of the show you're making, which I think this show points out at many levels, is that, the things that we require of other people, sometimes we're not even showing up doing those things. But here we are holding their feet to the fire on some shit that we could also be doing better. So I do think that this show really does capture the messiness of the human experience when it comes to interpersonal relationships, familial relationships, and the like. So let's move on to the next episode 4, Road Trip. Jerrod clumsily and poignantly tries to reconcile with his father by having every difficult conversation in one 4-day road trip.
And going to every Bojangles.
The Bojangles.
It was so funny to me. I don't know why. He was like, I don't like the rating on this Bojangles.
It's a 9.2.
And his daddy was like, oh, do you want to go somewhere else? His daddy was just so matter of fact.
I have to say, I really appreciated the way his dad showed up. He came, he went. They rented this little smaller RV that Jerrod ended up crashing at the gas station within the first day of the daggone trip. He's like, I don't know how to turn corners real good.
And then his dad, by the way, is a professional truck driver.
Right, so he's like this.
So he's like,
this dude. So, he agrees to go on this trip. They're supposed to be going back to this town in North Carolina where his dad grew up. And the idea
as like a sharecropper.
As a sharecropper, which was wild. And they were supposed to just be bonding.
I mean, we've read about that in books, but have you ever met a sharecropper?
Never in my life. Jerrod's dad was one.
Jeepers.
That word is like, do we...
Like, for real?
A sharecropper. And even when they showed, like, he was showing, like, where he used to, grandma and them, they were back here in the schoolhouse. That was it was giving borderline slavery. I mean,
everything but name,
basically it was. So,
a lot of racial trauma. Because even the original hotel they were going to stay in, they were like, this looks like the big house.
His
dad,
and
actually, I want to stop using the word plantation.
That's right. I forgot. It's the forced labor camp.
Thank you.
Yeah,
forced labor camps is a much more accurate description of
Yeah.
what was going on.
It looked like
there.
a really fancy,
but it was good
forced labor
architecture,
camp.
sure.
Yeah. So, and I forgot about that. That was a good point because he pulled up, told the production, like, look, this is triggering my dad.
Let's go to a Marriott.
Is this good for you? Yep. I feel like his dad was trying, he was really trying. And what I thought was really crazy was like, they're in the car. He's talking about his boyfriend to his dad. And he's like, telling him
a picture.
Yeah, he shows him a picture of him in his drawers. And I'm like, why are you showing this man? He's trying, like he was trolling the shit out of his dad.
Why are you making it harder than it has to be?
You're making it harder.
And kids know when they do that to you, by the way. I feel like there's always a slightly antagonistic relationship you have with your children.
Yes. you just do.
So you try me right now still? I'm old as hell. Like, why?
He's just sitting there like, okay. And then he's
like, I'm trying to get your mom on your side, right? Like, why would you?
And then he's telling him all the different categories of men, like on an app. Like if we're on an app, like you got.
He's
otters,
like, you'd be a daddy,
because you got the gray hair. It's like, do you really? Why?
I need to know that. And also, I've been a trucker for years. What makes you think I don't know that already?
But the funny part in that scene to me was I don't think he moved an inch.
He sure did. He was
staring. He's very stoic, and he just was like.
So to reference the episode with Trevor Noah again, he did where he was talking about how terrified his father is of like being on Facebook or like running into people because he had 2 families. So he's still traumatized from that secret and like doesn't want to confront what he did. Like I think he really compartmentalized to the fact where he was like
he disassociates.
Yeah, where it's like no, and that was the part where I really commiserated with Jerrod as to why he wanted to do it on camera. So like you can't run from it. Like we have to like
I get that in a sense because there are instances where, like even if like say me and you had some beef earlier today, right? And we didn't really talk about it. We're with now a group of mutual friends. And there's an adjacent topic that kind of touches on the thing that we just went through, but we haven't directly said what it was. Sometimes we will use those opportunities to have that conversation in front of other people because we feel like, okay, I'm going to address this now because I feel like I have an audience. And if this person was to take my critique of or how I felt in a way that, maybe wasn't favorable, I have like support here. You know what I mean? Or
Backup.
backup. I almost kind of feel like
And it's
I give
also a
backup.
different perspective. So it's like, am I crazy? Because sometimes I do feel crazy.
Yes. And you're asking kind of like in front of other people. So like not necessarily a camera situation, but I do think that sometimes, you know, there is an honesty that exists in a space where you feel like there's this third party
I agree.
here. Which is why therapy ends up being helpful, and it can be, you know, a thing too. But when they do finally get to that scene where him and his dad are having those conversations about, you know, his other relationship that happened for over the course of 40 years and like several children, you know, he's like hitting him rapid fire with all these questions, and his dad is like, you can see visibly uncomfortable. He's like, why are you digging so deep into this, son? Like, you know, why are you doing
He's
this?
like, how many times do you want me to say I'm sorry?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's more than just that, because it's like, I want us to live. If I know for Jerrod, it feels like you're still not really living in the truth of it.
Right.
Like,
and so then it's like, what is it that you want from your dad to do right now? Do you want him to break down crying? Do you want him?
No, you want him to be like, you know what? I did this. I shouldn't have. And now these are all my kids. Because he avoids his other family. Because
Like
he
you're
just
still
wants to
not facing
pretend
it.
like, he wants to pretend like he just had the one family. And that was just something like, you know, because that is a very common thing with a lot of men where it's like, well, yeah, I take care of my real family.
Right.
But it's kind of like,
the
like
out
you
of
don't-
wedlock kids. It's like, I don't really
it's like
acknowledge them.
you kind of like it's on their mama. She knew what it was, so I don't really have to take care of them. Whereas
I mean, I get that, but then it's also my question to Jerrod
I don't
is,
though. Like those are still your kids.
No. I'm not saying no. I don't get that. I'm saying like I understand what you're saying in that situation, and that happens. I'm not condoning that or saying that I feel like I could get to that
Okay.
as a no. But my point is why, you know your parents, and just the way like you're even like down to you trolling them and showing them the pictures and stuff like that. Do you really think that you're gonna have this just because you're having this breakthrough moment that helps you be more honest in front of the camera? You're assuming that they are also gonna have that same experience. Do you really think, you knowing your dad and how he is, he's still avoiding his other family? He's not going on Facebook, my guy. You think he's about to right now in front of everybody say that? I think it's more likely that if he was going to do that, it would be kind of like the same thing that you were saying maybe Tyler would have liked. If you want to have this real ass conversation with me, can we just have it?
And I guess he's saying he's tried to do that before.
And I know, that's why this whole show is here. So it's the you know,
with
I get
the
it.
dad. Now with the Tyler, I feel like Tyler would have talked about it. Maybe.
probably
I mean,
would have
maybe
talked about
not. I don't know. But like with his dad, there's so much. And like I said,
But you can't bully him into it either.
No.
And I think the rapid fire, like you do have to, like when you love somebody, you, at least in my mind, it's like you're going to try to approach people as who they are. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not going to approach my son the same way I'm going to approach my daughter about a certain scenario, because I understand how you function and move. You're not moved by these things. So if I come over here, like if I know that you shut down when I tend to show you truths about yourself or my perceived truths about our interactions, or you get defensive, me putting you in a position where you constantly have to defend yourself, I'm not going to get the results I want.
Right.
So my thing is like, at what point do you recognize who it is the audience, the real audience that you're trying to speak to? You know what I'm saying? And not just trying to get your shit off, because that's what it kind of felt like.
Do you think his father would have been as accommodating if Jerrod wasn't like paying for their house?
Fuck no. That's why they're there. Hell no. No.
So listeners,
And he even says this
yes,
too.
he was
He's even
like,
I'm paying their insurance. In this motherfucker, so.
Right. Well, no, I think he's paying the whole.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, like he's paying for the house.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Which makes sense, because if you're supporting two households your whole life, because like I said, it's like he was a truck driver. That pays pretty well. Like, why are you in a bad financial situation?
Maybe he's not. Maybe he just wants to do that for his family, though. You know, maybe that, because I mean,
it didn't. That when you watch the other specials, like
okay, I didn't see
yeah,
that.
it wasn't sweet.
Okay.
So it was one of them situations where he would, and the type of person he is, he ain't gonna do it. I don't know.
Well, and that's the thing too. So like that's where the masturbatory part comes in at, where it's like,
are you using their power in the situation
to be a little like, is it like?
But he's like, use your power in your situations to,
That's-
like that antagonism
like,
is
so
there.
do we become our oppressors? Like, is that what we're doing, or are we? So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a deeply human.
I understood why he felt a way about like necessarily having to say, partially closeted to be accepted by the family.
Fuck
Like
yeah,
they were
you
like, we're fine with you being gay. You know,
don't
people
talk
be
about
gay, but it's like, don't talk about it and don't bring your partner around. And it's like, well, no. Like,
And you know,
especially when, because you're saying my sin is sexual, I'm like, why isn't having a second family a sexual sin?
it is. It should
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Maybe one with more
mind.
repercussions even.
be.
I always thought one of the
Sweep that
great
under
things
the rug.
about, I mean, just going back to Pride Month, one of the more fabulous things about being homosexual is the fact that you don't have pregnancy scares.
Oof. That seems like a plus.
That's a plus.
Yeah, for sure. And it might, you know, be why maybe the grinder situation went down like it did. It's like, I ain't worried about nothing. I ain't worried about nothing.
I mean,
yeah,
it's, you know, it's one less thing.
It's one less thing. So, you know, that's the thing. That's why it's like it's super messy. But the honesty behind, you know, him, it's hard when you have people who, you know, he's a sharecropper. Like, how progressive do you think this man is?
And he's actually pretty progressive.
He's trying. And again, it might be because you are paying his way or whatever it is. But I'm just saying, like, you know, just, I don't know, like.
But, you know, there are plenty of people who you do, like, they do that for their parents and their parents are still shitty.
That's so true.
You
That
know,
is
so it's
true.
like,
That's
it
what I
seems to
mean.
me like he's not as, and that's such a low bar, but he's
I know,
not
it's
as terrible as he could be. That's
But
a
that's the
good
thing we're
man,
contending
Savannah.
with when we love people, though.
It is.
That's honestly what we're contending with. It's like you are taking people in all of the terribleness. It's, I mean, his friends are willing to listen to his sorry ass fucking apology after standing them up after their their wedding
day.
that he very easily could have been like, nigga, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I haven't asked you for nothing. Like, this one thing you couldn't do for me, he would have been well within his rights to be like, no.
Yeah.
We're done. You know what I'm saying? So again, like, when you want people to extend grace, you have to leave it open. It's always way more tricky when it's your parents. And especially when they are going out of their way to not see you, to not address you. I also don't feel like smushing the cake in their face is gonna necessarily be helpful. But I do think, like, the idea of having those cameras and trying to capture those moments isn't all the way crazy, but then at the same time, it's like, I don't know how much you're really expecting at the same time. So
that, I think that when you put the expectations on there,
yeah, he expects
but
them.
is it wrong to expect greatness?
It's not, but when you don't get it, it's wrong to expect it.
Oh, okay.
Because
to
you
keep
know,
expecting it.
Yeah, it's
but
like,
I mean, how many times do you give up? Like, he's basically refusing to give up. Doesn't that make him a hero?
in his own mind, I'm sure. And, you know, maybe, I'm not saying to give up. I'm just saying, like, it's just like fighting racism.
I was say there's nothing wrong with giving up. You know me.
You
I
can.
love
Yeah,
giving
you
up.
can when you're tired.
But not when it comes to racism. I will fight racism forever with my dying breath.
You have to, like, it's sometimes the strides that you're making seem so small. You know what I mean? And it's like, is this even making a difference? But I think that, you know, in some ways, I don't know if he got everything he wanted from this.
But didn't we learn that during Butterfly in the Sky, that how far a single act of love can go?
Right. I mean, and a single act of love being like a documentary, I wouldn't feel very loved if one of my loved ones put me on the spot like this. I would hate this a lot.
Well, my whole thing is, you see, like, his sister wasn't on it. Like, he's got sisters. Like, was she in it?
She was in it. Okay, let's move on because listen, we got to get through these episodes.
Sorry.
So Road Trip, episode 5 was Jamar.
Jamar was one of the hardest ones for me to watch.
It was wild.
Was that hard for you to watch?
Jerrod pushes his friend Jamar Neighbors to face his childhood traumas on stage. That was one part of it. His friend is an aspiring comedian. He's been doing it for years and years, and you watch them do these scenes where he lets him be part of his show, or he invites him to be part of the show.
Like an opener or something.
And he comes in and does his sets, it was super hard to watch. This man clearly needs to be in therapy, which he ends up being in because Jerrod does encourage him to do so. Because again, like, there's this avoidance happening in his life about a lot of the stuff that happened with him. He has some abandonment issues.
Oh yeah, with his mom.
With his parents. He cannot understand or fathom why, when Jerrod has living and breathing parents who lived in the same house as him, who he knows loves him, why he would record them and make them feel bad.
Yeah.
Like, what is the big deal? But the larger story is like, he doesn't even know his dad, never saw him. His mom won't talk to him about who this man is. And so,
Oh my God. Yeah.
his comedy was like,
And his mom had like addiction issues, so he was in foster care for a lot of his childhood. So, he was like, compared to my life, your parents are like a dream, like what Annie was singing about.
yeah,
Like maybe far away. Yeah. So, but it just goes to show us like, okay, yes, I mean,
they were
I
there.
had a dad some of the time, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it's
just
doesn't-
hard
yes.
to, as the person who doesn't have a dad, to understand why. But what did you think about his critique to him to go on stage and talk about his personal problems with his audience?
I think that it wasn't necessarily bad advice, but like I said, I don't know, because I've never done stand-up. So it's hard for me to say like what the right move is, but
It needs to be more authentic is what I feel like he was trying to say.
yeah.
There was this huge performative aspect to his comedy that was like, I mean, it's
It
not
was just
funny.
zany, just
Yeah, it was like, it's
zany.
not funny and it's not connecting. So I think he was trying to tell him to connect. That's how he connects. So we tend to give people the advice from
that
our,
works for us.
Yeah, and that's what he's doing. So you do see the progress in his show. Like by the time he gets to that last show, it was much
People
better.
were laughing.
People were actually laughing.
Yeah, that's what you want.
And which is what you want. And so, yeah, it was just really wild though. But the scene that got me about them was at the park when he was flying his kite. Do you remember the kite scene where Jerrod, they're at a park and he's like trying to, I think they're in Chicago. And he's like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna fly a kite. It's the Windy City.
Yes.
And he's like running with the
okay.
kite all carefree with his kite and stuff. And he's like, you should try. And he was like, man, I'm not. He was like, I don't want to fly a kite. He's like, this is the gayest shit you could be doing.
Yeah.
He was like, it's not gonna make you gay to fly a fucking kite. You might even have
Because
fun.
he was the one too who said he felt like he was tricked into having a gay friend.
Yes. And that was part of his act too.
Yes.
And he's like, now you got like straight people questioning you like about you being gay. And you could tell he has some feelings about that, down to the kite scene, because he ends up immediately doing like consecutive backflips to sort of, I don't know, like it's like an equation where you're trying to balance it out. Like you thought backflips equaled kite -4. It's like, nigga, what are you doing? Like, it's a kite. Like at the end of the day, he's like, like you still felt a way about being in the park with your gay friend flying a kite. Like you thought that the gay was going to like rub off on you somehow.
Okay, let's talk about homophobia real quick. So, I feel like it's more pernicious in men. Because have you ever been afraid of someone thinking you were gay?
No, but I will say, because it's more socially acceptable for women. You know, it's almost like even if you don't agree with gayness, when you see two women hugging on each other, you're not as revolted by it initially.
Or societally.
Or
like in
that's
our
what I'm
Western-
saying.
Yeah, Western society.
Thank you,
'Cause, like,
yes.
yeah, it's not as, sure.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of homophobia is rooted in misogyny. So it's this idea of like, you would kiss a man? That's what women do.
Right. But yeah, it's like yeah, 'cause
yeah,
it's
like, so
kind of great.
I like it.
All right.
But like, yes, that part was kind of wild. Like the Jamar one I will say was my least favorite.
It was very hard, and I mean,
but very real.
Yeah.
But I can't criticize it on any level other than I didn't like how it made me feel, because it made me feel sad.
it was sad. It was very sad. What about the next episode? Episode 6 was Homecoming. Jerrod takes his boyfriend Mike home to meet his Christian mother. This was painful.
It was, because if my mom didn't want to meet my partner, I wouldn't want to introduce them. Now,
Same.
I get it. Like I said, like I'm
He
paying
was very adamant.
like I'm paying for this house.
That's what I'm saying. It was very like, no, I'm smushing the cake in this bitch's face. She's gonna meet you. I pay her bills. I don't give a fuck how uncomfortable she is. It was giving, pulling it out and smacking you across your face with it a little bit.
But I don't know if it's because maybe I should have a more honest relationship with my mom. Like I just like keeping things pleasant. So maybe that's like a toxic positivity thing, where
could
I'm not
be.
willing to force the issue just so that
There's a
I feel fully.
difference.
But I think I'm used to not feeling fully comfortable. And is that bad or not?
So I guess I feel two ways about it. Like, I'm not even saying that the impulse to be like, no, this is the person I love. And especially because I am taking care of you in every aspect, I feel like you owe me that. So even if you're a little uncomfortable, I understand. That's not like, it was very much like, this is happening though. Like, I'm going to bring you, and his boyfriend was very accommodating, because he was like, I'm not interested in winning anybody over or helping
Yeah.
somebody understand. I will go because I love you. And this is important to you. I can see because you have a whole show built around this. Like I'm on camera right now. And clearly I've agreed to this shit show for whatever reason. However, like it doesn't mean that much to me. You know what I'm saying? So that's a lot. Like I feel like that's a lot when you have somebody who's bending for you to do that. But I don't think it's your job to I'm not trying to convince. Like I think it is hard if you're the people you love don't love your partner, don't like your partner.
Here's the thing, like would you go somewhere where you knew your husband wasn't welcomed? Like let's just say for whatever reason, like your mom had it like where she just could not stand your husband and he couldn't come to her house. Like how comfortable would you feel about going to your mom's house?
By myself or with him?
Well,
Or
like I
just
said,
at
he
all?
can't go. Like she's already put a line. She put up a boundary that was like, because I feel like when I learn about, because I understand both camps. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I feel like his best friend, the one who's trying to be an actress, I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
She did a really good job of talking to both of them about the perspective of the other person.
Yeah.
And so
Jessica.
Jessica. So I have a lot of trouble with Cynthia's position because I feel it's irrational and illogical because you don't have these boundaries around sexual behavior around anybody else except gay people. And there's so many sexual sins. Like there's
Well,
just so many.
You don't, in her mind, I don't think that Jesus told her that it wasn't okay. You can point to examples probably in the book that she loves so much where it's like,
Jesus never talked about gay people.
well, not Jesus, but they love to bring, we're not talking New Testament, but you can pull up some Old Testament stories about,
Sure.
it being okay to hunch on your handmaidens and have kids with them and start
your
new
sister.
generations. And no, so not to make light of what you're saying. No, I totally agree. Of course, I don't support Cynthia's position because I was just saying I think it's disrespectful to your partner if you go somewhere where you know that they can't go, where they're not welcomed. Yeah, I'm not
because
going.
I would if I had a partner who
I'm not
was
going.
like going somewhere where I was explicitly told not to go, like we'd have an issue.
Yeah, and we're just not going. I'm not about to force myself to be there.
But it makes it doubly hard where it's somewhere you want to go. Like I want to go to my mom's house.
I want to see her.
There's food there.
Well, I'm not, but I'm also the kind of person who's probably not paying your bills at that point.
But you're saying that, but like, are you really gonna see
I
your
don't
parents
know.
out on the street for real?
But will they really be out on the street?
Well, they'll be
for
living
real?
with other relatives. You know?
Okay, family living. Y'all were sharecroppers. Don't spill your drink. Shit. I mean, like, I don't know
It's
how
cold
now-
in the D, man.
I'm just saying, how is it my problem? That's what I'm saying. You don't want me on that time.
Right.
You feel me? Because
Right. You don't want to take it to that point.
That's what I'm saying. So
Okay.
work with me, please, because I have so much latitude when we're working together. I'm willing to, you know what I'm saying, like to bend
I really
and
just spent my
stretch.
drink.
But I'm
Good
just,
thing this dress is margarita colored.
I'm just saying because
damn.
and again, this is me just supposing. I've never been in these situations, but yeah, like I do believe that I do have it in me to be like, yeah, I'm not one of those people who will overextend myself. I'm gonna match energy, you know?
Well, I think I learned from that. Never betray Moni, and it's time to move to the next episode.
So, yeah, Homecoming was hard to watch.
They
all were.
But that one was still easier to watch to me than Jamar.
Yeah, Jamar was. Yeah, that was.
And
you guys will see. You just watch it. It was zips. All right. So after let's see, Homecoming, we have opening. After opening up about his relationship with Mike, Jerrod struggles with jealousy and rules of non-monogamy. Ooh, let's unpack this real quick because I know. Okay.
Ethical non-monogamy.
Ethical. Let's
talk
to
about
about
it.
what that means. Do you
Because
wanna give
most
them
of human history has just been rife with unethical non-monogamy, while
Which
people
is-
pretend to be monogamous.
right?
And so I think what I do admire about Mr. Carmichael is the fact that he is like, I'm done with that. We're done with the front fest of like we're living
Even though it was
Puritan-
hard at first.
purity culture, basically.
Yeah.
Purity culture where we're straight, we wait until marriage, and that's that. And it's like, no, ain't nobody doing that. Like, that's not an accurate like perspective of human sexuality. So the idea of ethical non-monogamy, which is I love you, I want to be with you, but the truth of the matter is I want to sleep with other people.
My junk's on fire for others.
I.e. Grindr. So this, in the way he grew up, which was his mother was faithful and his father was not. And so I think in his situation, since he's a man and he's kind of like internalizing this, like it just seems to me like he almost sees his boyfriend Mike as the woman in the relationship who should be chaste and faithful while he does what he wants to do.
That did kind of unfold like that, did it not?
It did. And it happens a lot with opening up relationships. Like men are usually super into the idea of an open relationship until their partner also has an open relationship.
Jamar over here.
Yeah, where it's just kind of like, well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, isn't it?
And it usually is not, though. And I do think that was something that I loved seeing, because there's always one person who, for whatever reason, is like, you know what? I feel like I can get past this because I want to be able to, let's open it up and explore and see what this could be. Because this is better than, I want to know about it, and I want to feel like I'm a part of it rather than, I'm out and about. And I really loved, so after they opened up their relationship, he instantly goes out and has sex with somebody without telling him. They had this whole little contract, and he was supposed, Jerrod had to tell him before. Michael didn't. I guess because
I don't know how they worked it out.
Whatever.
That was there was disclosure and
it had
the other word.
And he didn't tell him, and he goes, "Do you need the sin?
Do you need the transgression?
Do you need the transgression?
Do you need the openness, or do you need the transgression?"
And I thought, wow, that
was a very poignant question. Points to Mike. He's a smart cookie.
Yeah.
Because is that what it is?
Like, are you getting
over? Right. Yeah, like, because like I said, the first thing you did, because it's interesting.
And you hate secrecy, though, because this whole shit is because your dad's secret. Like, this is why we're doing this. This is infidelity.
This is what got here.
This is what got us here. And then here you are again.
The fact that, once again, the model of relationships didn't really work for your dad. Instead of just saying that, he was like, I'll pretend like it does and just do whatever I want to.
Until I die.
And that's, when they talk about that trope of the families meeting each other at the funeral, when the dude's like, well, that's not my problem no more.
That's right. Listen, I'm out.
Got that ass.
Man.
So.
I got that ass.
I mean, that's what it is, though.
Yeah, but it was not like it was funny to see him struggle with it, but I liked seeing him squirm in that way because I was like, yeah, that's what you get,
nigga.
because you expect
like,
him
that's how it really
to
felt.
keep bouncing
like,
back
yeah,
from.
like, don't ever have me taking the position of defending this white man.
Thank you. This is crazy. Jerrod, I want to be on your side, but there was a lot of this.
Mike is a fine, upstanding white man. He's really trying to get him together.
And
he's so patient. Because seriously, like, he must really love your ass.
That's how I felt. I'm like, you're doing good that he's still sticking around, because there was a lot of fuckery going down. So the opening, I liked that one. I liked that they explored that, because that is something that isn't super. I think it's more mainstream now. You hear people talking about the non-monogamy thing.
That was what's interesting though too, because like watching Horrible Decisions, and they're talking about like openness and non-monogamy and stuff like that. Amanda was just talking about in her own relationship how they still violated it. You like, I gave you so much freedom, but you still felt the need to lie.
That's worse, almost.
Not even almost. I feel it's way worse.
Because
it's like you could have done this ethically, and you openly chose
to be a piece of shit.
Yeah, to be unethical.
It's like, no, I want to be.
Just because part of it, I do believe, I liked how Mike said that, where it's like, part of you getting off is the fact that you're getting over on me. And to me, that's the part where it's like, that's harder to forgive than just, okay, like, because like I said, like when people have you slip and like you mess up that one time or whatever, because our, people, we're passionate, we're curious creatures or whatever, but when you have an elongated and extended affair with someone, that's not a moment of passion. That's a premeditated.
That's
it
intentional.
took resources, time, all that kind of stuff that could have been going back into our household.
Yeah, and then I think too, him asking him like, do you need the transgression? There's something about it being like, oh, baby.
Yeah, it's like, because, and I think that goes into purity culture too, because you're not taught that sex is this joyful, consensual thing. It's this dirty, bad, sinful thing.
He talked about that a lot. He was like, the kind of sex that I was having, he was like, I would masturbate to gay porn and then turn around and masturbate to
bounce it out. Yeah.
And it's like that, it says something about the human experience, does it not? Because it's like
to trick God. And be like, see, God, I love the pussy.
Ew, and it's like, why do you?
The guy's like, no, you don't.
And then we pan out to think about how crazy that is for you to be picturing yourself being watched by. I'll stop there, but
I don't know. I don't think my genitals are that important.
I hope not. I just hope
I don't think the
not.
God of the universe is just like, what are you doing?
With your genitals. What are your genitals doing? Pull it up, let me see.
Yeah, purity
I
culture
hope
messes
not.
up everything.
It's really,
and
really
this is
crazy.
as a former member of the abstinence group, A Promise to Keep.
I just wish the words
I
could
do
come
need
up.
a sash. But yeah,
Maybe I'll work on
it's
making
just
one.
rife with so much hypocrisy and dysfunction. And
Just like life.
yeah, but it doesn't have to be like
Ugh,
that.
just
That's
like
the
life.
whole thing. Like, if we're just honest about human beings, like the fact that we are sexual, it doesn't make you bad to be, like, we just equate sexual, like sin and sex are like equal.
And I think he's trying to illustrate this to his parents too. It's like, this is just the guy I love. I just happen to be hunching on him. Like it's, it doesn't make me a murderer, Mom. Okay, which takes us to our next and final episode, which was named after his mom, Cynthia. This is when his mom comes to visit him in New York. Pretty sure it was for Mother's Day. And it says Jerrod is haunted by echoes of his childhood and torn between wanting to reconcile or confronting her. And so this was like, again, I feel like all of them, it's like, oh my God, this one was so hard to watch. It was so hard. But like, you can't look away either because it's just a mix of like honesty and vulnerability
and contradictions
everywhere you turn.
Because she's really trying. I remember let's go back to episode 1, where he played the voice message his mom left him when he won the Emmy.
Yeah.
And how heartbreaking that was.
God.
Because to me, the part that to me I find the most frustrating is the fact that Cynthia seems to be this extraordinary woman who has this capacity for forgiveness, like forgiving. I can tell you, I would not forgive my husband for having a second family. I would end the marriage and not look back, because like I ended my marriages for less than that.
Okay.
Like
That's pretty big.
So, if they've gone through the step of having complete other families while still with me, then no, I don't want to continue the relationship, and no, I don't forgive you. Like, I don't feel bad about not forgiving people for not feeling bad about wronging me. Like,
same.
Yeah, like, I don't feel bad about that at all. So, but the fact that she did do that, though, wow.
Smiling. I mean, through the years, man.
If you go back and watch the Sermon on the Mount and the home videos, you find out the day after she found out about his second family, she still got up the next morning and made that man breakfast. Like,
listen, I don't want to listen.
To me, that was the most heartbreaking part of the story to me, where it was just like, and I know that woman doesn't want my pity or anything like that, but to me, I was just like,
it's a special kind of place of like, wow, when you observe that in real time, where you're like, so you don't value yourself.
Yeah, like to him to be like, I love you so much. Could you take some of my love that I have for you and apply it to yourself? And at least make this man sweat for, I don't know, a day, a week, a month, something, so that he doesn't know that no matter what he does, because that's the thing. It doesn't matter. I'm not the type of person, no matter what you do, I'll be with you. No, there's some deal breakers in this piece.
And it's levels.
But to me, the part that's extra heartbreaking is the fact that she can get past that, but she can't get past him being gay.
Right.
Which has absolutely nothing to, because the fact that you had another family, like your heterosexual sex caused me way more problems than
it's just really, it is. It's a weird proposition, because you are essentially saying that, and maybe because you've seen it demonstrated over time, and it's something that's socially acceptable to an extent. Like, I mean, like you're saying, it's a trope that, at the funeral, but like, I mean, I can think of a couple of like scenarios where it's like, yeah, I've seen that play out in real life and in real time. But it's like, you don't really have, like, these conversations he's trying to have with his parents, like, these aren't conversations that you ever see play out. And so the part of this documentary that I do think that is like, wow, that is kind of like, okay, he's trying to force society in a way to deal with the fact that these are conversations that need to be had. Now, whether or not it's the best way to do it, whether or not it's messy and out of control, whatever, okay, we can all have our opinions about it, but it's like, I do admire that sort of like, even though he's putting the mirror up to himself and he's not necessarily showing himself in the best light, you get to see the hypocrisy on all levels around, you know, conversations that we accept and are okay with versus the ones we're not. And why is that though? And really being more introspective about those conversations around, you know, queerness or, you know, how we perceive ourselves in proximity to people who are queer, and especially when they're related to us, especially when they're our kin or they're our children, and, you know, how we feel like we're being perceived because of it. You know what I'm saying? And how, and I mean, like the hypocrisy of like accepting his money and being a beneficiary of everything,
his hard work,
of all of his hard work, but then still
being like, well, I don't agree with your lifestyle.
Which is
it's
maybe
like,
why
bitch,
he is like
I don't
smashing the cake in their face.
Either.
Which is why I'm
right.
like,
because it's like, I mean, I don't feel like I agree with a lot of people's lifestyle, but I don't go through the step of saying it to them. Like,
not especially when they're my bread and butter at this point. Right. I might just shut the fuck up and be like, and put on the front fest that he did for all these years for you guys. I mean, not like y'all asked. Well, you kind of did though. You kind of did say like, we don't want to hear about it.
It's like, we get it. You're gay. Could you just not be like in her face about it? Like, cause that's the whole thing. Like, you never hear that about like heterosexual people.
I don't want it. I promise you I don't. I don't want my son bringing his girlfriend home and y'all are like, y'all don't have to do that. I don't need to see this.
Yeah, I don't need to see.
Chill out.
Like I said, I don't want to see bikini.
I don't want to see pictures of her in her drawers. Like that would have been.
And I've actually, you know, like the same thing too. Like if I'm meeting someone, that needs to be your significant other. I don't need to meet your host.
Don't please. Don't bring them here. I don't need to see their faces. I need to see the white of their eyes.
Let me know when there's somebody you're serious about, and I'm gonna have to look at them for a while.
And let me get comfortable with that and make sure that So it's already a hard thing to put the people you love in front of your parents because, you know, there are judgments being made. But yeah, I don't know. How do you think it ended? Because like at the end, there's no real resolution.
Oh, I thought it was beautiful.
Did you?
Well, because I feel like at the end, like the parents were just kind of like, yeah, Michael comes around. Because the mama and Michael kind of, you know, they started bonding and stuff like that. I think there was this idea that it's very frustrating that it seems like Cynthia really isn't going to accept anything until she hears it from pastor. You know, like a lot of this stuff too isn't necessarily even biblical teaching because the Bible doesn't have a ton to say about gay people. Like you would think that it was like one of the primary messages or something, the way that it's like the Bible's all about abortion and gay people, but there's
newsflash.
Yeah, if you actually read it, there's not much in there about it. In fact, they give you a potion to do an abortion. So
not a potion. Okay. Yeah. Little concoction, little tincture.
Yeah, so that's not really but the way it's taught is very different as to what's in it. And so for the mom, I think, you know, Jerrod is benefiting from the fact that more churches are becoming more progressive. And so that...
What did you think about his choice to take his mom to that, you know...
The gay church in New York?
In Harlem or whatever.
I think that was sweet in a way. Didn't he say he regretted it?
He said he regretted letting her lay hands on him and pray the gay away.
But she was so happy though.
Ew, it was like, that was so cringy to me. I was like, ugh.
My whole thing was just, it just made her so happy. Like this is what she's been dreaming of. I know, and it's because she feels like she's like, this might work. Like
same way so that in my mind solidified for me how alike they are. In terms of...
I'm glad you said that, because that was the main problem.
That you could fucking pray the gay away. And you think that showing her herself on camera after she's been indoctrinated her whole life, you've seen the front fest that she has participated in with your dad for her whole life, your whole life, and that she continues to. I just want y'all both to think about that for a second.
Are you properly regulating your expectations?
Right. That's all I'm saying.
So
do y'all not
but
see
that's the thing too, like if you don't shoot higher expectations, are you just like, to me that is what I always struggle with between contentment and
Right.
ambition.
Amen.
You know, like where should I be content and where should I be ambitious?
I think that it's probably
Did you
a
see
moving
my,
target.
Do you see my
Listen,
levels?
this is my life. This is me always trying to figure that out. And I do feel like that it's not every day it's going to be something different. It depends on what we're talking about. I think there's always going to be the need to apply nuance to whatever situation you're managing. And I think, you know, for as much any strides that he's made with his parents, like those are the wins that you take, but then there's going to be scenarios where you're taking steps back, and it's always going to be a balancing act. There's never going to be a point where it's like, as long as you're doing this and as long as you're doing that, you know, we're exactly even, and this is the perfect recipe for how we get along, because we're always evolving and we're always learning stuff, and our relationships are always moving.
Moni,
It's always a moving target.
The answers, and I want them set in stone, and I don't want to have to think about it.
Well, then read
ever
the Bible.
again. I did.
Oh my gosh, let's
But
take a
yeah.
break on that end.
Okay,
I just feel like we
coolsies.
gotta, with read the Bible, let's take a break. You guys, we're gonna be right back. All right, guys, we're back from the break. My goodness, friends.
Sometimes we come back from the break before we even come back from the break.
We do. I just this whole exercise felt like I was trying to describe it as like a car wreck. And you know how like either you're the kind of person who rubbernecks to like watch it. I mean, that's what you are when you're watching this basically. I'm not used to being that person. Typically, I like to just keep driving and be
pushing.
thankful that I'm not in the mix. Because I feel like I want to give respect to those people, because this is like one of the worst things that's happened. In that moment, it's the worst thing that's happened to you. I don't want to be
using it as your entertainment.
I don't. And so like that's why I felt
Well,
conflicted about watching
Do you
this.
feel like you're more entertained or educated?
I mean, it was a mix. I don't know which one I feel more, because
Okay.
the part of me felt like I couldn't stop watching it once I started watching it. So there's the entertainment factor, but it was enlightening to the human experience, and it highlighted the hypocrisy that I feel like I see in everything all the time, and how it's interesting that depending on like where you are and who you're talking to at that particular time, where you fall on any given argument, because we all end up being the person that we're hollering at and being like, get your shit together.
Get it all
or
together.
Get it together, or
Put it
you're
in a
the person
backpack.
who needs to be gathered.
Take it to the shit store and sell it. Put it in the shit museum. Whatever you got to do, just get it together.
Yeah, and it just made me grateful for the people who love me, as messy and hard as it can be sometimes, because it's not always easy to love people, and it's not always easy to see people as they are. And so for me, I'm like, I just, you know, I was thinking like, if I have a queer child, like if I was thinking like, if my son were to tell me like, you know, he was gay, you know, as a parent, I guess in a way that
It's like,
You
I
know-
still don't want to meet your host.
I said, right, certainly don't fucking please. But to think that like there's a part of who you are that I would reject, that you can't help, that breaks my heart. Like I would want my kids to know that like
Well,
that's not a deal
The
breaker for
part
me.
that's also a little heartbreaking too is that a lot of people who hold homophobic beliefs, they feel like they're in part responsible for their child turning out gay. Like there's something that they did wrong.
Yeah,
that
that's
made them gay,
right, which
is even sadder.
It's sadder, but here's a funny thing that made me think of, because I'm trying to balance out the sadness of this moment. Where he went bowling with his mom, and basically was like, you know, there's one theory that like the reason
aren't
why
born
male children are right, they're not born gay, but male kids in particular end up gay because they love their mom so much. But so maybe it's like your fault because I love you so much that I'm gay. Like and she was
Yeah.
like, why would you say that?
Well, no, at first she was like, oh, because she was saying how much she loves her. He's like, I love you so much, I'm going to suck a dick tonight.
That was like, I don't want.
And she was like, okay, now that's
See,
fine.
I don't
can't
want.
hold you
I
about
don't
that.
want my son to say he loves me so much he's eating pussy tonight. I don't want to hear you say that to me. I just
Yeah.
like you don't want me to hear
Right.
you say
Yeah.
that I'm going home to ride
It's like,
your
I'm about
dad
to bust
tonight.
it down for your daddy tonight.
Yeah, like you don't
You
want to
know?
hear
You
that.
want to know about that? Oh, that
So
was
stop
like my
playing.
daughter when I was showing her like the apartments her dad used to live in. And I was like, I was pretty sure you were conceived there. She was like,
Ew.
you should be grateful.
But that's the thing. It's like, okay, but I don't want to hear that. You know, it's the same thing on both sides of that.
You're the
but
proof we were doing it, baby.
proof that we were doing it. So yeah, it was just filled with moments like that where it was like wildly uncomfortable, but he was trying to add the levity to it, and whether he nailed the landing or not was, you know, is for you guys to decide after you watch it. Would you recommend this, or to.
I would recommend this to people.
Yeah.
It's a quick watch.
It was.
It's not
It was
excessively
easy.
long. It is uncomfortable.
Oh my gosh.
But I would watch it. I think it came out on Fridays. I would watch it the Fridays it came out. Like
Yeah.
I was a little addicted to it. I like a little messy reality TV every once in a while.
It makes my
And
underarms
the
sweat.
fashion was good.
Okay.
He can dress. Like we've criticized Jerrod quite a bit, but he's a good-looking man and he dresses well.
Yeah. And I think that he's trying. So, I mean,
I don't think he's trying to be harmful. I think he is trying to improve himself. He's trying to be better.
Yeah. He's
And
just
at
messy
the end
boots.
of the day, like, yeah, the parts of him I don't like are a lot of parts in me.
And that's the whole point of this exercise. Like a lot of the time we can criticize people. Nobody's willing. That's the thing. Like I would never be willing to do this. I'm never going to, you should never expect a fucking not on any level. I don't want a reality show. Not that includes my actual personal life because it's something that I hold dear. It's something that I don't play with. I'm not getting ready to, it's not for your entertainment. Yeah, it's not for your entertainment. And so whether celebrities I don't think they owe us this. So that's why I felt like it was a train wreck. I'm like, why are you doing this?
Showing me this?
Why are you showing me this? Don't do this. And I wonder if he feels like, my question to him would be like, did you get everything you wanted from this project?
It's like, are you
was
done?
it worth
Are
it?
you done?
Is you finished or is you through? Because I can't look at no more of this, okay?
But I think the end to me was encouraging. I think in a lot of ways he achieved his goal, which was to feel accepted by his family and to be able to bring his partner home, which is, maybe wouldn't have been accomplished without doing the documentary.
Well, he edited it to look like that, and so like in my mind, it's like, is that really what it is, or is this what you want us to come away with? So I don't know. I hope that he got everything he wanted because he put a lot on the line,
He did.
and I hope that you wouldn't lightly put all your shit out here for just likes and entertainment because that feels gross. So I do hope that he's getting what he wanted from it because you sure did open up your booty cheeks and spread it for the world, and you didn't have to do that. I'm gonna just tell you right now, you did not have to do that. And so,
but maybe he did.
I hope you got everything you needed from this.
Yeah, to get what he needed.
Yes, and so, and I mean, I was entertained. How would you rate the series overall, friend?
I would probably give it a 4 out of 5. What was the theme of this that kept popping up? I was
Hunching.
trying to think of. I don't know. I'm just
Cinnamon
going to give it
toast
4 out of 5
hunching.
stars. I'll just be normal.
Okay. I'm gonna give it also 4 out of 5 stupid bitches.
You stupid bitch. Take it back to Tyler.
Just picture the text of him saying that shit was hilarious.
Yeah, because it's
but
like, what am I supposed to do
uncomfortably
with that?
hilarious.
Like, for one, it's like, don't be pussy now. Like, you want me to be in love with you, be brave.
Man.
Like, don't be, like, I don't like when people like, oh, I kind of like, we're grown. Like, put it on me.
You hear that? You hear that, folks? I like you and I want you. Okay? Be a warrior. You know what kind. Have y'all know the clip? Do you know what I'm
the
referencing?
booty warrior. It's like,
Woo, he put it out
we
there,
do this
didn't
the
he?
hard way.
Ooh, that's oof.
We
He
do it
wasn't
around the
playing.
hard way. So
But yeah.
anyway.
Okay, well, you guys, she reluctantly dragged me there. I was a little bit
Yes.
nervous about it. Overall, I was entertained. I was
I think you're better off
uncomfortable.
getting over to the other side. But if you're homophobic, you're not going to enjoy this.
You're gonna hate this so much.
You're not going to like it at all.
'Cause there's
It's a
man
lot
kissing,
of there's men kissing,
fondling.
holding, hand holding, caressing, toe sucking, all that stuff.
The
Me
toe sucking was
personally,
minimal.
I didn't like watching that. But a lot of times I don't necessarily
wanna
like.
see that
Oh, because
either.
this is the other thing too. Netflix. I know you're listening. Netflix. Do a like PG-13 version of Bridgerton that I can watch with like my mom and my daughter. It's such a fun show to watch. But like we have to like I do watch with my daughter, but we fast forward through the sex scenes because don't nobody want to watch a sex scene with their mother.
Well,
Like
yeah, it's true.
yeah,
Or
like
just get over it, Mom. It's just this is how we got here.
no.
Remember?
She was like she's
See?
the same way. She's like I don't want to watch this in front of you.
It's the same reason why I don't want to see your naked girlfriend, or you don't want to hear that I'm riding your dad tonight.
Yes,
like, let's
exactly.
Be for real.
Like, let's just be appropriate. But I do want to watch Bridgerton, the costume, and it's like a soap opera. It's very fun.
Okay.
So,
all right.
and it should be pretty cheap. It's not that hard to make a PG-13 edit, you can still have the dirty one too. Just give
She'll
us
pay
the
for
option. Yeah. No, I'm not giving out any more money. Like, no, that was incorrect.
You can give us money though. That'd be fine.
Yes.
So we like Netflix just in case in the future they want to do a deal with us. Yes.
I'm just trying to give y'all some good ideas here. I
that's
just
for
don't
free.
want you charging me anything else.
The first one's on us.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, just have a tier of like there's a
Just edit it
PG-13
down.
of your original
Like if it was
content.
gonna go on Lifetime.
Because it would be different if they were editing like other people's property, but y'all make like it's a
This is an
Netflix original. So if
Mhm.
y'all edit it, that's just your stuff. Just
Yeah.
saying.
Okay.
That's
That's
all.
notes for the
That is
girls. Okay, friends. So we rated the book.
We did.
I think it's time to spin the wheel. So spin it. Okay. All right. So this is a book I'd like to point out that you recommended, friend.
It is.
Called James. It's a novel by author Percival Everett. Yay.
Yes. So we already did one of his books, Erasure.
Yes. which
So
was
he's the guy
awesome.
who did the reference material for American Fiction.
Yes, which was amazing. So I'm excited to.
And I
visit
finally watched.
some
Did y'all finally watch the movie?
Yes, and it was
Yeah.
awesome.
It was so good.
Just like I
You
I
were
knew
right.
you think.
You were
I knew
right.
you thought. I knew you would think it was. So, yeah. So I'm really excited to get into this book. It's a reimagining of the adventure of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, but told from the perspective of Huck's friend Jim, who is an escaped slave. So that should be
Inward Jim.
I wasn't gonna say it.
But we're gonna call him James.
We're gonna call him James. We're gonna put some respect on that
We
man's
are.
name. Okay. So what a fun twist. You
It
know?
is, and also happy Juneteenth.
Yay! Happy Juneteenth, you guys.
Because this will be published on Juneteenth.
Yes, it
Look
will.
at us
Happy
go.
Juneteenth. See,
Yeah.
I feel like that title kind of goes with it.
Yeah, I think I'm really
happy.
gonna try to make it to Songs You Never Hear Out. I've missed it the past couple times,
Aw.
so I think
Dang
I
it.
should be able to like make that happen. I
Is that
wanna
on
really
Wednesday?
yes, it's Juneteenth. Wednesday.
That'll be a fun one.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm
Okay.
into it. I'm excited,
All right.
and I'm
you
excited to read this
guys-
book.
I am too. This was so much fun. Thank you, Kat, for joining me for another
Of
fun
course.
episode. Thank you guys for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed this.
And hopefully you're enjoying your bodies because they belong to you.
Damn right they do. And hopefully you guys are doing stuff that you like because it's this or nothing. So enjoy your summer, enjoy this show, and we'll see you guys again next week. Bye.
Before we go, we must give thanks to Urban Nerd for providing our music, and legal services were handled by Trezanae M. Atkins. If you like what you heard, please feel free to join us every Wednesday for another fake-ass book club. Cheers.
Thank you guys for listening. You can check us out at thefabpodcast.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you're listening right now. We want to hear from you. Come put it in our life. Thanks again, and until next time, peace, love, and the Fake Ass Book Club. We out.